The strange thing about the moment someone leaves you is how ordinary it often is. No music, no warning, no sense that this sentence will divide your life into before and after. In my case, it happened on a Wednesday morning. I was standing in the kitchen, half awake, waiting for the coffee machine to finish its slow, familiar cycle. The window was open just enough to let in cold air. It smelled like rain. Normal, forgettable. She leaned against the counter and said, almost casually, "I think I need some space. Not we need space. Not can we talk. Just I need space." I didn't turn around right away. I've learned over the years that people reveal more when you don't rush to fill the silence. "Space?" I said finally. She nodded, arms folded, already bracing herself. "I don't know. I just feel like I'm losing myself. I need time to figure out who I am again." There it was. The sentence people use when they want out but don't want to look like the villain. We'd been together almost 7 years. Not married, but close enough that paperwork was the only thing missing. Shared expenses, joint savings, weekend routines. The mortgage was in my name, but the life inside that house was something we'd built together. I took a sip of coffee. Too hot. Didn't matter. "All right," I said. She blinked. "That's it?" "If you need space," I replied calmly, "you should take it. But you're not finding yourself in this house." Her expression shifted from confidence to disbelief. "Wait, what?" she said. "You're not even going to try to talk about this?" "You didn't ask for a conversation," I said. "You made a decision. I'm just respecting it." She stood there like she was waiting for me to backpedal, to plead, to bargain, to panic. I didn't. 15 minutes later, she was pulling clothes out of drawers and stuffing them into a bag. The hallway felt narrow, quiet, like a place people pass through on their way out of something permanent. At the door, she hesitated. That pause told me she expected a scene. Tears, anger, some dramatic attempt to pull her back. I opened the door. "Take care," I said. She walked out without saying a word. The next morning, I woke up at 6, made coffee, went to the gym, came back and answered emails. Her absence didn't feel like a crater in my day. It felt like one less variable. That should have told me something. My sister called that weekend. "She really left?" "Yeah." "And you're okay?" I looked around the house. Quiet, clean, predictable. "What exactly would freaking out change?" I asked. She didn't answer. She knew me. I don't beg. I don't chase uncertainty. A friend stopped by a few days later, mostly to check for cracks. We sat outside, barely talking. He kept glancing at me like he expected the weight to show. "I'm fine," I said before he even asked. And I meant it. There were moments, sure, reaching for my phone out of habit, looking at the empty side of the bed. But none of it spiraled. Instead, I went back to old routines I'd neglected. The boxing gym, early mornings, structure. Clarity has a sound. It's quiet. She didn't text, didn't call, not once. That told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't the comfort she missed. I was the safety net she assumed would still be there. Then on a Sunday night, my phone buzzed. A message from a mutual acquaintance. Just one line. "I saw her tonight. She wasn't alone." I stared at the screen longer than I needed to. There was no anger, just recognition. Space, it turns out, is often just a polite word for overlap. And in that moment, I understood something that would reshape everything that followed. She hadn't left to find herself. She'd left to see if something else was better, with the quiet assumption that if it wasn't, she could come back. After that message, I didn't rush to do anything. That surprised even me. There was a time in my life when information like that would have sent me spiraling questions, scenarios, anger, imaginary conversations. But this time, it just settled into place, like the last piece of a puzzle I hadn't realized I was finishing. I didn't ask who the guy was. I didn't ask where they'd been. I didn't need details to feel something I already understood. Whatever she called it, space, clarity, time, it wasn't empty. It was occupied. 2 days later, my sister texted me again. "You didn't hear this from me," she wrote, but her friend posted pictures from a winery upstate. She's in a few of them. There's a guy with her. Tall, dark hair. Name might be Leo or Enzo, something like that. I stared at the message, then locked my phone and set it face down on the table. That was the moment it clicked. Not the fact that she was with someone else. Not even the speed at which she'd moved on. It was the lie. The way she'd framed her exit as something fragile and introspective. Like she was stepping into silence, not into someone else's arms. Like she was searching for herself instead of auditioning replacements. That's what changed everything. That afternoon, I logged into our shared accounts and removed her name, streaming services, phone plan, cloud storage, not out of spite, out of alignment. If she was no longer part of my life, then the infrastructure of that life needed to reflect reality. I packed the things she'd left behind into a single box. Shoes by the door, a jacket she loved but never wore, a few books she said she'd come back for. She didn't. I slept better that night than I had in months. By the end of the third week, the silence had transformed. It wasn't heavy anymore. It was clean. There were no passive-aggressive comments hanging in the air, no emotional negotiations disguised as small talk, no background tension I had to manage while pretending everything was fine. I turned the spare room into an office, got rid of furniture she'd insisted on buying because it felt more like us. What she'd meant was that it felt more like her. One afternoon, I stopped my friend, asked if I was lonely. I thought about it before answering. No, I said. I'm finally uninterrupted. That was the truth. Then on a Tuesday afternoon, almost exactly 4 weeks after she'd walked out, I got a message request on Instagram from a man I didn't know. The name stopped me for a second. It matched the one my sister had mentioned. Hey, the message said, this is awkward, but I think we should talk. It's about her. I didn't respond right away. Curiosity isn't always healthy, but in this case, it felt like closure knocking instead of pain. I typed one word. Why? The reply came almost immediately. I didn't know you were still together when it started. You deserve to know the truth. That line told me everything about how this conversation would go. We met the next day at a coffee shop downtown. He was already there when I arrived, sitting alone, shoulders tense. Not confident, not smug, just uncomfortable. I sat down across from him. Talk, I said. He didn't waste time. She told me you two were basically done, he said. That it was mutual. That she was staying at your place temporarily while she figured things out. He paused, watching my face carefully. We slept together a few days before she moved out. I thought it was over between you. I didn't know she was still texting you like everything was normal. There was no satisfaction in hearing it, no spike of emotion, just confirmation. Why tell me now? I asked. He shrugged. Because she lied to me too. And because I don't want to be part of that kind of story. I nodded once. When I left, I didn't look back. That night, 4 weeks to the day since she'd left, there was a knock at the door. I knew it was coming. Her silence had gone on too long. Her return was inevitable. She stood there with her hands in her jacket pockets, hair pulled back, face stripped of the confidence she'd worn when she left. No makeup. Tired eyes. Hey, she said softly, like she was testing whether the words still worked. I stepped aside without answering. She walked in slowly, scanning the space like it no longer belonged to her. You changed things, when she said. Yeah, I replied. Felt like time. She sat on the edge of the couch like a guest. I stayed standing. I've been thinking a lot, she began, about us, about what I did. I let her talk. Let her build the version of events she'd clearly rehearsed. She said it wasn't serious. She said it helped her realize what she'd lost. She said she'd been confused. Then she said his name. I tilted my head slightly. You sure you want to go with that version? I asked. She froze. What do you mean? I leaned forward, calm, precise. Because I met him. He told me when it started. What you said about me, about us, about being basically done. Her face drained of color. I didn't think you'd actually talk to him, she whispered. No, I said. You didn't think at all. You thought I'd be right here, waiting, believing whatever story you came back with. She tried to explain, tried to soften it, tried to frame it as a mistake. I listened, then asked the only question that mattered. If it had worked out with him, would you still be here? She didn't answer. And that was the answer. I walked into the hallway, came back with the box I'd packed weeks ago, and set it down in front of her. I kept your things, I said. Figured you'd ask eventually. She looked at the box, then at me. So that's it? Yeah, I said. That's it. She asked me to hear her out. I did, I replied. And all I heard was someone trying to walk backward through a door they slammed shut. She stood, picked up the box, and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back. I hope one day you forgive me. I already did, I said. That's why I'm not letting you back in. She left quietly. After that, there were messages, missed calls. One email titled, Please just read this. I didn't. Closure doesn't always come from conversation. Sometimes it comes from refusing to reopen something that already taught you its lesson. A few weeks later, my sister called. She's been bouncing around, she said. It didn't work out with him. You okay? I'm better than okay, I replied. And I meant it. She'd left looking for better. She just didn't expect me to become it for myself while she was gone. Some people leave to find more. Some leave and discover they were the problem. And some doors don't close loudly. They close once, quietly, and never open again.